Paul in our center seat tonight. Joining me on the panel, Nina Easton, columnist for Fortune magazine, Ron Fournier, senior political columnist of National Journal, and editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Laura Ingraham. Senator, thanks for being here.
Glad to be with you.
You know, Republicans have had concerns about some of your foreign policy stances, some of the things you've talked about on foreign policy. Now,
I've had some concerns with their foreign policy as well.
And you've noted them many times. Now with Russia taking an active role in Syria, a lot of people want to know what you would do as president. We asked people on Twitter and Facebook to write in. Yolanda Buford writes in, how do you feel about Putin, Russia replacing the U.S. as leadership role in the Middle East? What would you do?
Well, I think the first thing we need to know is how we got here, and then the second thing we need to know is what is important to do so we don't get into a situation that we can't get out of. During the Cold War, we had many altercations with Russia and the Soviet Union at a time where the tension was much greater and much more potentially dangerous. What I think is reckless and irresponsible of some of my colleagues who on the presidential stage is to say, oh, we're not going to talk to Putin. Well, having no relations or communicate with Putin is exactly the wrong thing to do. Others have now been saying we need to be prepared to use force against Russia. And it's like, my goodness, we avoided that for 70 years in the Cold War. I don't think that's a good idea. And then others are saying, well, we need to draw a red line. We need to have a no-fly zone. Well, that's also a recipe for disaster, for either an accidental or a purposeful shooting down by one country or the other. I think we have to look at how we got here. How did we get here? We used to have Saddam Hussein, a tyrant who opposed Iran. He's gone now. Iran is stronger. Iran is now allied with Iraq. Who gave flyover permission for Russia to go into Syria? Iraq. Who said today that they're inviting Russia and want Russia to attack ISIS? Iraq. It's going to be a little hard for us to say Russia go home when Syria, Iraq, and Iran are all saying they want Russia to be there.
I get that looking back, but looking forward, what are you doing as President Paul? Are you okay that Russia is doing what it's doing, even though they're attacking rebels on the ground by all accounts?
I don't think I would put it that way, that I'm okay with it. What I would say is that we need to stand up for our position in the world. But there's not a position, what are we going to do? Do you want to drive Russia out of Syria? Do you want to have a land war with Russia? I mean, there is no sort of scenario in which America can just stand up and say, be gone, Russia. I think what we need to do is make sure that an accident doesn't happen, make sure that we have open lines of communication, make sure that Russia knows what our position is on this, so we communicate our displeasure and we try to say this is not something we feel. But, you know, is there a military solution to this? There isn't a military solution.
Laura.
I think it's interesting to listen to Senator Paul because he is reflecting exactly what Donald Trump said with you last night in the interview when we talked about foreign policy and before. And well, Gaddafi, he said better for Gaddafi to be in power, better for Hussein to be in power.
He's been listening to my speeches,
well,
obviously.
Perhaps, but it's a fascinating divergence in the Republican Party, and I think it's fueling the support that you get on college campuses and beyond, and fueling some of what Trump is finding out there as well. People want America to be strong, but they also like the idea of a humble foreign policy that's a smart foreign policy, which is what George W. Bush campaigned on until 9/11 happened. But it's a complicated scenario, right? Because we obviously don't want Russia to become the #1 power broker in the Middle East. Yet America doesn't have an appetite to go full force into the Middle East.
It's also why we do have to look backwards as well as looking forward. You have to learn from the past, and when you look at the past, if there's one clear thing in the Middle East to learn, it's that every time we've toppled a secular dictator, every time we've gotten rid of one of the iron fists, we've gotten chaos, the rise of radical Islam, and it turns out the unintended consequences were worse than maybe the situation was before.
Well, I'm still not sure what you would do about Putin and Russia, but let's go to the Pentagon budget. It's $600 billion right now.
Who do you know that is sure?
Pardon me?
Who do you know that is sure of what we would do? I've already told you what I won't do, and what I wouldn't do is a no-fly zone. I think that's a huge mistake and endangers World War III. I would not close communication, so I would diplomatically engage. I would express our opinion. But the thing is I think war with Russia is a really bad idea, and I can tell you that the people in my party who are saying don't talk to Putin, have a no-fly zone, be prepared to use force against Russia, that's all very scary to me and the wrong approach.
The Pentagon has a $600 billion budget. 4 or 5 months ago, you suggested that was bloated, telling Joe Scarborough, do I think we need more than all of the next 14 countries combined? I think that needs to be examined. You've had more than 4 months to examine it. Yes or no, do we need this much money?
Well, I just had a vote today where I was the lone Republican that said I'm not voting for the defense spending and this extra war funding on top of that, because I think really the problem with our deficit, if you're truly a conservative, yeah, you have to look at both the military and the domestic welfare. Instead, we do the opposite. We have an unholy alliance between right and left up here. The right wants more military spending, the left wants more domestic. What happens? The unholy alliance comes together and get more spending for everything, but that's also why we're $18 trillion in debt, and it's also why I'm frankly the only conservative running on either side, because I'd be willing to cut both.
Well, you would bring us down below $600 billion.
What I would say is that you have to be able to cut across the board. That's what the sequester was. Now, some of the sequester was a cut in the rate of growth, but it was cutting across the board, and it actually was something that was slowing down the accumulation of debt. And we abandoned most of that last year, and that what's coming up now and what many in the leadership are saying, yes, we're going to bust the budget caps. The last remaining vestige of control is going to be busted, but not because of Democrats, because of an unholy alliance between the right and the left who are so avaricious for more spending that they can't get enough.
Nina.
Senator, going back to your position on Syria and your overall sense of foreign policy, there's a compelling argument to be made that the reason Russia felt licensed to go into Syria is because we didn't stand up to Putin over the Ukraine, that we didn't arm Ukrainian rebels. Which raises the question, what is the difference between being non-interventionist and weak global leadership by the U.S. that eventually puts the U.S. at risk?
Well, I think if you look at the region and you say, why is Syria now involved in the region? You might say, well, if we look back, had we not gotten involved in the Iraq war to begin with, maybe Russia wouldn't be so involved. So maybe it's an unintended consequence of the Iraq war. In the Ukraine, there was no real military solution to removing Crimea, removing the Russians from Crimea. There was no real military solution that anyone, even from the farthest right wing of our party, was proposing to do as far as pushing them out of Ukraine. As far as arming Ukraine with self-defense, I actually favor that.
Back with domestic policy questions for Senator Paul after a quick break.
"130 yards now."
Bill's got a very tough lie here.
Looks like we have some sort of sea monster in the water hazard here.
I believe that's a kraken, Bruce.
It looks like he's going to go with the 9-iron. That may not be enough club.
Well, he's definitely going to lose his stroke on this hole.
If you're a golf commentator, you whisper. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
This golf course is electric.
Who says desirable can't also be responsible? With 46 standard safety features, the Lexus RX is proof that fun can be good for you. This is the pursuit of perfection.
Discover new Paradise Bay. Download now.
Are you missing out on life because you're putting off neck or back surgery? Call Laser Spine Institute, the leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic conditions, call today for your MRI review.
When you're in that much pain and you live on painkillers, you really don't have quality of life. I feel like Laser Spine Institute was an answer to prayer. It's just the heavens had opened up and it was like, I can live again.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-844-282-BACK for your MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Dermatologist Dr. Helen Torek on bruised skin.
Many mature patients show signs of increased bruising, sun damage, aging, and some medications can make your skin more vulnerable to bruising. Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Formula is designed to address bruising. Dermend helps renew your skin's protective barrier and reduces the appearance of bruises faster. My patients have been very pleased with their results using Dermend.
Now available at Walmart or your favorite chain drugstore.
Syndrome. brings us the biggest news in multivitamin history. A moment when something so familiar becomes something so new. Introducing new Centrum Vitamins, a multivitamin that contains a full spectrum of essential nutrients you enjoy like a mint. New Centrum Vitamins, the coolest way yet to get your multivitamins.
We are back with Senator Rand Paul in our center seat. Senator, you've repeatedly voted against raising the debt ceiling. One is coming up very soon. How will you vote?
I can't vote to raise the debt ceiling. It's sort of giving more credit to people who are drunk on spending, and we can't give them more credit. And so what I would use it is as an opportunity to use the leverage for those who believe we have to raise the debt ceiling, use it as leverage to try to get spending cuts. In 2011...
Even though President Obama says he's not going to negotiate on this front at all.
Well, he said he wouldn't negotiate last time, and he did in 2011 over this. He negotiated, and we got what was called sequestration or overall budget caps. So I think you do need that, and you should use the leverage. All of these things should be points of leverage for Congress to exert their authority. I think
even
Congress,
if you're up against a fiscal cliff of a possible government shutdown.
Yes. Well, the other thing we discovered last time when we had this debate is Congress, I mean, the government brings in, you know, $60, $70 billion a month. There's plenty of money to spend on interest, so we would never default on the interest. There's plenty of money actually to fund Social Security, Medicare, and soldiers' salaries. Little else is left in it, but might be a good idea to re-examine what we are spending our money on. But I would use it as leverage to get reforms, and I would force it, force the issue. But I would also have done the same with the previous spending. I would have let all the spending expire and say, now let's negotiate on what you want to spend money on, and it would take 60 votes in the Senate to get any spending bills through.
How much power do the donors, the donor class, have over the GOP, specifically the GOP candidates for the presidency?
I think there are certain people that there is power exerted over
them. Name them.
Now you really want to get me in trouble. No, it's someone's opinion, but I would say that there are people who are very much influenced by who the money they give to. I think there are people, and I would count myself in this category, who I'm uninfluenceable by the money. I am who I am, and I believe what I do. And there are people who give to me who agree with what I stand for, but nobody, I think, believes they can give me a donation that I will change my opinion. But there are people up here, many people. I would say the majority of Congress will go with the wind, and the wind is money. Which way the money is blowing, they will go. And I would say that's the majority. If the Chamber of Commerce
wants something to get done, it usually will get done.
I would say the majority of Congress are influenceable.
Ron.
Donald Trump says eminent domain is wonderful. What would you call it?
I would call it one of the worst things that government does, and because one of the fundamental building blocks of capitalism is private property, and to say that the government can take private property from a small property owner and give it to a big corporation like Trump or one of his casinos, I think it's antithetical to freedom, it's antithetical to what we stand for, and the fact that he is for this abuse of eminent domain really ought to be a disqualifier for any conservative Republican to vote for him. And I keep waiting for everybody to wake up one day and say, oh my goodness, he's not really a conservative, because it's true, he's a fake. He really isn't a conservative, and no conservative in our party is for using eminent domain like he is.
Nina.
Let's talk marijuana. You're considered, even though you don't support recreational marijuana, you're considered probably the most marijuana-friendly candidate, supporting medical marijuana.
Yes.
But now we have in Colorado, which does support recreational marijuana, it's legal there, and we have this several hundred million dollar business industry built around that. What do you make of that? Is that a good thing?
I think it's a good thing to allow states to make their own laws. And so it was funny, when we had the presidential debate recently, many of the governors were standing up and beating their chest about how they love the 10th Amendment, which leaves the powers not enumerated to Congress or left to the states and people, until the governors decided they disagreed with marijuana, and then they decided they were all for federal laws telling the states what to do. But I'm sort of agnostic to the state of Colorado. I think the state of Colorado should get to decide. I am sympathetic, though, to people who have kids who have intractable seizures and they've tried 7, 10 different medicines and they want to try cannabis oil. Most of the other people on the stage would take that child away, send social services, and put the mother in jail. I'm against that. I am for more freedom, and I think particularly with the medicinal sort of qualities of cannabis, people ought to get a chance to make that decision themselves.
Last one for the panel here before we move on to politics. Maddie Baier tweets in, who would you nominate as the next Speaker of the House?
A couple people have asked me that. You know, I got one vote last time. So I haven't decided whether to actually actively campaign. You know, anybody can be speaker. Even someone in the Senate or someone not in politics could be the Speaker of the House.
You endorse Donald Trump right here?
He's not real high on the list. But what I would say is that what I've been telling people, and I do believe this, it ought to be somebody elected to less than 3 terms. You want really new blood. You want to really change things. If you go to who's next in the pecking order in leadership, you're going to get more of the same. So nothing against any one person, but I would go to somebody who's brand new and fresh and just came in from the private sector.
And you're for term limits in this campaign as well.
Absolutely.
More with Senator Paul. We'll talk politics when we come back.
Now, Fox News Headlines 24/7 is on Sirius XM Channel 115. Breaking news, money market moves, sports and entertainment. Every story, every headline. Now, Fox News Headlines 24/7. Ready when you are on Sirius XM Channel 115.
Everyone deserves a better tomorrow for ourselves and those we love. Transamerica can help provide a lifetime of retirement income so you can focus on the things that matter most. Transamerica. Transform tomorrow.
Researchers discovered a protein that supports a healthier brain, now available in the supplement Prevagen. Prevagen has been clinically shown to improve memory. It's safe and effective. For support of a healthier brain, a sharper mind, and clearer thinking, try Prevagen today.
These are the faces of arthritis. And when they have pain, they turn to Australian Dream. Here's why they love it.
Australian Dream doesn't burn, and there's no odor.
There's real medicine in there. It's effective pain relief.
I bought it because of the money-back guarantee. I keep buying it because it works.
If you're one of the faces of arthritis, get Australian Dream. It's effective relief for arthritis backed by the empty jar guarantee. Back pain? Try Australian Dream Back Pain Cream. Real medicine, trusted relief.
On the road with Chris Christie. As the candidate stumps New Hampshire, Bret gets a special behind-the-scenes look at his campaign. Don't miss On the Record tonight.
With the help of Comfort Keepers, I'm keeping my mom healthy.
I'm keeping Dad on schedule.
I'm keeping my mom happy. Comfort Keepers in-home professional caregivers can provide meal planning and preparation, health and wellness services, and personal care services through custom care plans that can change as needs change, so your aging loved ones can stay happy and healthy in their own home.
Comfort Keepers, keeping the comfort of home.
Centrum brings us the biggest news in multivitamin history. A moment when something so familiar becomes something so new. Introducing new Centrum Vitamins, a multivitamin that contains a full spectrum of essential nutrients you enjoy like a mint. New Centrum Vitamins, the coolest way yet to get your multivitamins.
Your paycheck. Your family depends on it. But if something happened to you, you need life insurance. And chances are SelectQuote can get it for you for under $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Alec, 38, a $500,000 policy for under $23 a month.
SelectQuote found Kenesha, 39, a $350,000 policy for under $14 a month. SelectQuote's secret? They impartially shop a select group of highly rated companies like these for your best rates. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford.
Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved customers hundreds of dollars. Call SelectQuote now, 1-800-350-0100, or visit SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families now know. We shop, you save. Call now.
Welcome back to Special Report. Republican presidential candidate and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul in our center seat tonight. Senator, the latest Real Clear Politics average of polls has you at 2.3%. And if you look at the state-by-state polls today, Florida, you're at 2%, Ohio at 3%, Pennsylvania at 1%. How do you turn that around, and what do you tell supporters who say, we're just not seeing it?
You know, I'm thinking about maybe going to joke school or something. Maybe I need better jokes. I've been told I need better hair. I need to be taller. I need better clothes. You know how many people tell you you have to do something different to bring your polls up? But I guess all I know is to say what I believe in, and I'll keep saying what I believe in, is that government's too big, debt's too big, and that we have to do something, and that really the problem is not just the liberals, not just the Democrats. It's the right and left spending too much money, and I'm the only one saying that it's really an unholy alliance of both sides, some Republicans and some Democrats getting together to bust the budget.
But you're running for president, but you're also running for senator at the same time.
I'm doing better in that race.
Well, there will be a decision at some point. When do you think that'll come?
I'm going to let people vote, and I think the polls don't accurately represent our organizational strength in Iowa. We have chairmen in all 99 counties in Iowa. We have hundreds of precinct chairmen. We have 1,000 students rallying for us. I would hate to, give up and say the students aren't going to get a chance to vote for someone who truly thinks you shouldn't be putting everybody in jail for marijuana, that really we shouldn't be at war everywhere around the world all the time, and that really there isn't another way, that there isn't a third way.
Laura.
Trans-Pacific Partnership. I know you voted against the Trade Promotion Authority. Donald Trump is against it. Hillary Clinton today comes out and is against it. What is your position on the super secret document that nobody's seen?
Well, I can promise you once I take a final position, I'm only going to take one. Hillary, I guess, has been on both sides of this issue. I don't like TPA, which was giving special authority to the president. I think one of the biggest problems we have in our country is too much power going to the executive branch and going away from Congress. So absolutely, I didn't want to give this special power and this special pathway for it to come through. I was also very annoyed with the fact that this trade agreement was classified, and at first they told me I couldn't even see it.
Why was it classified? Do you
I
think,
have
Senator?
no idea why a trade treaty would be classified. I'm still complaining. When I meet leadership in the hallways of Congress, I'm saying, why in the heck do you classify
You know why
a
it's
trade
classified.
treaty?
They don't want people to see what's in it.
Well, I went to read it, and I went there with some staff members, and we spent an hour and a half in there, and I'm not so sure I was even given the final copy, because now the final copy's come out recently. So I can't tell you. I like to read things, so I'm going to read it first. I'm in general for trade, for trade, because I think trade enriches us all, but I don't like the organization of international bodies controlling our trade.
Quickly, Ron.
3 political operatives very, very close to your operation are about to face trial for alleged pay for endorsement scheme. Are they innocent?
I don't really know innocence or guilt or the law. The law is really complicated, and this is sort of campaign finance regulations. And a lot of it's how you report things, whether you report things, and in fact, many things can be all legal, and then someone tries to say they're illegal. And so I really don't know the details of the case. And they didn't work for me, by the way. None of these people work for
very
me.
Close to your father's going to be testifying. Isn't this kind of Clintonian, this whole... this
people
kind
going after them? I mean, I can tell you that they waited 4 years.
People going after them, or are they possibly guilty?
Well, it took 4 years for people to charge them, and the person charging them is in the Obama Justice Department, and I believe the person who's in charge of the investigation testified before Congress, and when asked 30 times whether he knew anything about Lois Lerner and all the other emails that were missing, answered 30 times that he wasn't going to respond, that he didn't recall. And so when someone's been investigated for malfeasance, I wonder whether or not it is politically motivated.
Thanks, Senator. Thank you. That is it for the panel. But stay tuned to see Hollywood's consistent take on the 2016 race.
How much money do you have in your pocket right now?
I have $40.
21? Could something that small make an impact on something as big as your retirement?
I don't think so.
Well, if you start putting that money towards your retirement every week and let it grow over time for 20, 30 years, that retirement challenge might not seem so big after all.
Prudential. Bring your challenges.
Hold the phone, because AT&T and DirecTV are now one, which means you can access your DVR at the DMV. Change channels while he changes pants. You don't have to be a couch potato. You can be a train potato. And let them watch all the shows they love inside the ride that you really kind of hate. Introducing the all-in-one plan, only from DirecTV and AT&T.
Cardiovascular disease can lead to stroke and heart disease, yet 70% of adults over the age of 55 may have 2 or more risk factors and not even know it. The ultrasound technologies of Lifeline screening can look inside your arteries and help determine your risk. That's why 9 out of 10 cardiovascular doctors support preventive health screenings for cardiovascular disease among patients with key risk factors. Act now and save over 50% with 5 tests for $149.
Call 1-800-710-1916 today.
Is staying mentally sharp important to you? Introducing Procera AVH, a patented triple action formula designed to support brain health and cognitive function.